I love ice cream. It's one of my weaknesses in my life, one of my indulgences. My wife, her name is Rebecca, would say that ice cream is not a dessert. It is a topping. I would argue that ice cream is a dessert and it is also a topping. There was a time in my life where I ate ice cream pretty much every single night of the week. That time of my life started when I was probably about 10 years old and went till I was in my 40s. In my 40s, I decided I needed to probably make a change. Eating ice cream consistently every single night was probably not a good idea. So I made a commitment to myself that I was only going to eat ice cream on the weekends, Friday and Saturday primarily, an occasional Sunday would show up as well. I also made a commitment to myself, if I was going to eat ice cream, I was only going to eat the premium, really great ice cream. My favorite premium ice cream is Bluebell ice cream, and here's the reason why. When you look at the first ingredients on it, it says cream. That is your first sign of a premium ice cream. I love Bluebell ice cream. It's fantastic. It doesn't have all the added crap in it. It's very good. You might be wondering why I'm talking about ice cream. It's because I love ice cream. It also has a storyline to set up our topic today around consistency. I'll get to that in a few minutes. Welcome to the ToddCast, your weekly leadership nudge. I've been talking over the last several weeks about the High Five Leadership Framework. This framework is based on our fingers as reminders of 5 critical components of leadership. We started with the thumb, which represented recognition as leaders, how important that is. I then looked at the pointer finger on direction. I next looked at the middle finger, reconciliation. The ring finger was focused on commitment. And today I'm going to talk about the pinky finger, which is consistency. Let's make this happen. Welcome to the ToddCast, your weekly leadership nudge. Welcome to the ToddCast, great ideas you'll love. Early in my career, I was hired by Weight Watchers International as an area trainer. My job was to train Weight Watcher leaders to facilitate meetings. I was hired pretty young. I'd never been to a Weight Watchers meeting. I didn't understand their program, but they took a chance with me. They took a little bit of a risk. As a matter of fact, I went to a meeting out in New York City, a company-wide meeting with all the trainers in the United States that worked for the corporate Weight Watchers International. I knew there weren't very many guys that worked for Weight Watchers. I looked around. I recognized I was the only male trainer in the room. I guess I have the claim to fame of being the only male trainer for Weight Watchers at the time. I also probably have the claim to fame of being the first young white male as a diversity hire. I say all that jokingly a little bit, but it was true. I don't know about the diversity hire, but all the other things were true. And I loved working for Weight Watchers. It was a great company. I had great people to work with, and I learned a ton. One of the things about Weight Watchers is it teaches consistency. The goal isn't to have quick weight loss. The goal is to change habits consistently over time to make vast improvements in somebody's health and well-being. I remember meeting this lady when I first started working for Weight Watchers. She shared with me that she just completed her first half marathon and she had lost 75 pounds. Then she began to share with me, she said, I started out by walking around the block. Then the next day I walked around that block again. And then I continued to add time and distance to my daily regiment to the point that I got to that I was able to run a half marathon. I talked about consistency. Consistency over time has impact. I'll repeat that again. Consistency over time has impact. Now think about that word consistency. Consistency is acting the same way over and over and over again. So acting the same way over and over again. I heard a great story about a college president who consistently plays basketball with the students. Each day of the week, you could find him in the basketball court playing with the students. And that was a part of his pattern, part of his routine, and that was a part of who he was as a president of the college. Then we can think about this word impact. Now that word impact can have 2 different kinds of impact. We could have helpful impact, or we could have harmful impact. That helpful, positive, or kind impact, kind consistency, or harmful, negative, unkind consistency. And I'm going to use those words kind consistency and unkind consistency as I think about the impact. So kindness is about being friendly, generous, considerate, compassionate. We can be kind to ourselves, we can be kind to others, and we can be kind to the organizations, the businesses that we work for. We can also be unkind, which is unfriendly, selfish, narcissistic, maybe even mean. We can be unkind to ourselves, we can be unkind to others, and we can be unkind to the organizations we work for. So the goal as leaders for ourselves and the people we influence is to recognize where there's opportunities for us to have consistency in a very positive way to have that kind impact. And I'm going to give you 4 examples to consider. These examples will start at the individual level and move to the organizational level. I want to start off with an example on the personal level. And think about coming to work. Imagine your attitude towards coming to work. An unkind consistency is complaining. If you're showing up to work consistently complaining, that's unkind to yourself. Switch that around. Kind consistency is being grateful. If you're coming into your work or into the day about being grateful, that's a different consistency. That's being kind to yourself. That's a personal example. Let's go to the interpersonal relationship. Now think about addressing conflict. Unkind consistency is avoiding conflict. Someone who ignores it, lets it just happen and never addresses it, that's really unkind to the other person and to ourselves. Kind consistency around addressing conflict would be addressing conflict in a thoughtful manner, in a very timely manner. That would be kind consistency focused on addressing conflict. Let me look at the team level. Here's an example of kind consistency versus unkind consistency. I want to focus on the topic of problem solving. This is actually unkind to the team, is if the team leader or manager solves all the problems. That's unkind to the team. Kind consistency towards the team would be teaching the team how to solve problems in a collaborative way. Next, I want to focus on the organizational level and give you contrasting examples here. And I'm going to focus on leadership presence. As a leader of an organization, that's your role and responsibility, unkind consistency is being invisible, distant, or silent. Kind consistency is being visible, personal, and showing up regularly with open communication. The great leaders that I've seen at the organizational level show up present, authentic, and open to the people they're leading. There's some examples of unkind consistency versus kind consistency. Our goal as leaders is to reflect on ourselves and others around us to help us move towards kind consistency and begin to eliminate the unkind consistencies in our lives. I have a friend named Ryan Bennett. He wrote this great book. It's called The Intentional Day, A Proven Guide for Intentional Growth. In his book, he tells this great story about him wanting to build the habit of reading books more. He had gotten to the habit of watching TV every single night when he came home from work. He was feeling down about himself. He was not being productive. He said, I want to start reading more to help me get out of this funk. So he was committed to reading. He's going to turn off the TV and do this. Well, he talks about failing, not working the first time or the second time. Then he decided, hey, I'm going to watch TV. But during the commercials, I'm going to read my book. When he watched TV, every single commercial, he began to read his book. And he would do that consistently, night after night. And eventually, he actually started to read his book more than he started to watch the shows that were on TV. So he got to the point where that book became more interesting than the show. It transformed his thoughts, his behaviors, and his feelings. Out of that, I'm sure that was the impetus to him writing this fantastic book. I would highly recommend it. I'll put it in the show notes so you can link on it to get it. It will help you identify areas of your life that you want to focus on and build consistency over time so you have great impact. Here's the try it out section. I would offer this up as an individual exercise or a team exercise. It's starting off with this question: what's one aspect of your life that you would like to improve? Keep it simple. What's one aspect of your life that you'd like to improve? Again, keep it simple. Then answer the question, why? Why do you want to make that improvement? Once you've answered those 2 questions, then begin to think about what is one small action you can take consistently over time to make this change. One small action consistently over time to make this change. Write it down. Put this in a place where you can see it and remind yourself of it on a daily basis. So you go back to that one simple thing, that one simple behavior, that one simple way of thinking that you can do over time that might have an impact. Besides writing it down, tell someone that you trust. Ask them to say, hey, would you help me in this? This is something I'm working on. I want to focus on. Will you help me support me in this by asking me how it's going? There's your try it out section. Here's the quote of the week. This is by Ryan Bennett, my friend who wrote the book. He says this: knowledge gains its power when paired with discipline. And it's the pairing of knowledge with discipline that ultimately leads to growth. Hey, thank you for listening to the ToddCast, your weekly leadership nudge. Join me next week as we continue the journey to talk about different leadership attributes and characteristics and practices to help you be a more confident and discerning leader. I pray that you'll discover that one simple thing that you can do over time that would help you and others. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.